Welcome to our 2020 Voice and Vision virtual conference. In 1997, Voice and Vision Incorporated became a 501c3 nonprofit organization under the name of BCCST Inc. The newly established team responded to the advocacy need in Bucks County to capture the experiences of patients being discharged from state-run mental hospitals to ensure services in the community were meeting people's needs. What an ingenious concept. It was their voice and the family voice that were missing in the development and monitoring of mental health services. BCCST Inc. was one of many teams in Pennsylvania who proved capturing these experiences was critical and had the potential to be transformative. This movement grew in the Commonwealth, which expanded BCCST Inc.'s scope to also interview children, teens, young adults, and family members receiving services for developmental disabilities, mental illnesses, co-occurring disorders, and addictions. As mental health and substance use services and supports become more recovery focused, mentoring and peer support services began to be highlighted and sought after. All BCCST employees were people who have personal experience with mental illness, developmental disabilities, and/or addictions. So we were excited to expand into offering peer support services by implementing College Plus. Around the same time, staff began a peer support program at Norristown State Hospital through the Campaign of Hope, which continues today. In 2007, based on the organization's history, growth, success, and the need for continued expansion, we changed our name to Voice and Vision, Inc., which reflected our new corporate identity, mission, and expansion. The growth continued throughout the years with innovative programs and increased education, support, and advocacy. By listening to the voice of individuals and families, we were inspired to develop the Help and Hope Guide series. These guides educate individuals, families, professionals, and community members about key issues regarding mental health, disabilities, and substance use, so people are able to access critical information needed for their overall health and wellness, while also offering personal stories that keep hope alive through all the ups and downs of life. Advocacy remains a core component of Voice and Vision Inc., noted by the Family Advocacy Center that offers coaching and support to apply practical tips and navigating systems and to help each family address their specific needs. Voice and Vision Inc. continues to gather the experiences of over 1,600 people who receive services in Bucks, Chester, and Delaware counties. Our systems advocacy work promotes change through taking the patient experience to insurance companies, county officials, and others with influence, who then incorporate our data in their review process to improve the quality of services. Voice and Vision Inc. continues to expand our peer support programs located in Bucks and Delaware counties too, with the newest peer support program, ComPeer Corp, supporting veterans. Please see our services and success links on our website for more information about the history of Voice and Vision Inc. and our work. If you need help in any of these areas, please contact us. We can help you find the help that you need. Thank you. Get up off of that thing and shake the juice. Get up off of that thing.
Please help me welcome Leticia S. Johnson, MS, BSN, Board Certified, Registered Nurse, and Humanitarian to this year's 2020 Holistic Virtual Conference.
Good evening and welcome everyone to the 2020 Voice and Vision Conference, where we invite you to get up off of that thing. Now, I'm sure you all want to know what that thing is. We hope that you will open your minds and your hearts to the information that will be delivered to you this evening so that you can identify that thing for yourself. Just a couple of etiquette rules for us for this evening. First of all, this is a 2-day conference, and everyone who has joined us tonight is welcome to join again tomorrow at 10 a.m. using the same webinar link. If you choose to share any of the information that you will encounter or experience this evening and are using social media, we ask that you give us the courtesy of using the hashtag VoiceEnvisionConf 2020. That's VoiceEnvision, CONF 2020. If you have any questions during this period of time during the conference, we ask that you utilize our Q&A area. Our chat room will also be available for visual information available to you as to how to locate our speakers, as well as to get helpful resources pertaining to our content. This conference is being offered by the Outreach and Education and Heal Initiatives at Voice and Vision and paid for by Chester County Department of Human Services. You can go to our website at www.voiceandvisioninc.org if you need help. You can also go to that website to download a copy of our new Help and Hope Guide on substance use and to find out how to obtain a hard copy of the book. Voice and Vision understands the importance of identifying the need for help with addictions and mental health, and then getting that help from qualified professionals. Holistic help and help with the cornerstones are the cornerstones, of recovery. This includes spirituality. Voice and Vision's main work is gathering the voice of the people, advocacy, education, helping people to connect to resources, and offering support. For your convenience, the conference will be recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel for further notice. In advance, I'd like to thank all of the speakers who are sharing their time, expertise, knowledge, and skills this evening, and a happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish brothers and sisters, as Hanukkah just started moments ago. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the founder of Voice and Vision, Valerie Melroy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voice and Vision's first virtual conference. Wow, I can't believe we're here. Thank you so much for tuning in. The board of directors and myself have quite a lineup for you this tonight and tomorrow, and we're so excited that you joined us. I want to talk to you a little bit about Voice and Vision because some of you don't know maybe that much about us, and the fact that we like to have people's voices heard. And in order to talk about this conference, I wanted to first actually talk to Ebony Walker Edwards. Can you come on, Ebony? Say hello to the folks.
Hi, hello everyone.
There you are. It's because of Ebony that this conference is happening. We pulled this together pretty quickly, and we thank you, Ebony, for your expertise. And you know, Ebony's a person that likes to see information and transformation. So she was the right person to hook up with us, and she listened to our voice the whole time and the voice of those that we connected with and our speakers to pull this together. So Ebony, we thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. We also thank Alicia Johnson for being a moderator. We wanted to do this conference a little different than some other conferences. We'd like to have a nice flow with all the pertinent information, keep it going, just like the song did, get up off of that thing. And actually tomorrow you're going to find out why we named it that. I don't want to steal the thunder of one of our teammates. But for now, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Voice and Vision. Voice and Vision cares about the voice of people. But you know, a voice is only so loud if it's not heard. It's like having a rowboat without an oar. You don't get very far. Voice and Vision not only gathers the voice, but we really, really listen. We also are trained to ask questions, the next question when someone says something, not to speak, but to really listen. So that's fun for us. And once we gather all the people's voice, what they think about their services, how it's going in their life, what do people need, we share that voice, as we said, as you heard in the introduction, with counties and other folks that can help to change the system if needed, or congratulate everybody who's doing a great job in those areas. It was because of that voice, about 5 years ago, we started our program with people that are Black or African American. And that was when Chester County, along with Community Care, came to us and said, Would you find out for us, please, why people who are Black or African American on medical assistance are using 4 services less than people who are white, Caucasian on medical assistance? And 2 of those services were mental health and 2 were addictions or substance use services. So we put together a leaderboard of people of color, and we went to various places in the county and talked to people and asked people, why aren't you, what would help you to use services? Are you using services? What are the access issues? What's happening? We didn't ask any leading questions like I'm telling you now, I'm cutting to the chase, but we really asked people so we could find out from the people that this was concerned about, people who are Black and African American, what were some of the barriers. We found that out. And some of the biggest barriers we found out were stigma, cultural beliefs, insurance issues for sure. Also, the lack of knowledge of where to get help. We also found out that people may not have the support that they need, like transportation and healthcare. I'm not going to give you any statistics, but here's our Help and Hope guide, our newest guide on our website. If you go to Chapter 7 on cultural diversity and how to access treatment, Dr. Tanya Tinsley did a great job of writing all about that. You can learn about statistics and some of the other barriers. When we gathered that data, we also found out that for a lot of people who are Black or African American, it's the faith community they go to first. So regardless of what faith it is, that's where they go. Now, it might not be that they share their issues with the leaders there, but they believe what we found, the people that we interviewed, and this was supported by literature, that it's prayer, meditation, scriptures, talking to someone that's really going to help, and that professional help doesn't really enter into the equation a lot. So when we found that out, the Chester County Human Services and Community Care said, well, let's go back out and talk to leaders, clergy and other leaders. We did that then. We gathered data from more than 20 leaders. Do they talk to other minister friends, other clergy, other leaders about mental health and substance use? Do they talk to their people about it? And 80% of the people that we interviewed, we found out seldom talk about it with other leaders and or their members, and also reported that they don't really know, most did not know who to refer people to if they needed help. So the outreach and education program was birthed. And right now, I want to acknowledge the outreach and education leaders. We have Pastor Kevin Hunt from Coatesville. He is leads as the regional leader to Coatesville and beyond. Reverend Robin Bearden Reed takes the rest of the county. We have a Reverend Ben Nelson, and he works particularly outreaching to men who are Black or African American with his own story and with the knowledge of how to get help. And he's the one who's going to talk to you about get up off of that thing tomorrow. So please tune in tomorrow. We're excited about that. And then Trinity Banks, she's our HEAL leader, which is a program for youth. You'll be hearing from her a little bit later. So thank you to the team. And we also have 2 amazing advisory boards that help to lead this program. Everything we do at Voice and Vision is actually developed because we went out and gathered data and people said that's what they wanted. So we're excited about that. That way we can give people what they really want. So what do? We outreach. We go to people and places and things. We don't wait for people to come to us. We go to them. Wherever people are, we go. We offer support and services. We say, how can we serve you? What are your needs? And then we connect people and we follow up. We're also a bridge between spirituality. We're also a bridge to combine spirituality with the treatment because it is very important. We are holistic beings after all. So spirituality is important. So that's why we're meeting here today, so that we could all learn, listen, and launch. So what does that look like? We're all on this boat together. We're going to give you information, and speakers are going to give us information. I know I'm going to learn a lot about what it's like to be in our personal rowboats and how we can have oars to actually get somewhere. Because you might be a person who doesn't know how to share your voice, or you might be a person who shared your voice and you don't feel like anybody's listened. Or maybe you're a person that has listened and don't know what to do with it next. So we hope to give you, and the speakers I know will give you the tools, they'll give you inspiration, they'll give you support, ideas, and connections to be able to take that, to launch out into the deep, into sometimes uncharted waters where we're all going together. So thank you again. We so appreciate you, your time, and we're here to help you in any way we can. Thank you.
Without further ado, we'd like to introduce our conference producer, Ms. Ebony Edwards.
Hi all again, and thank you, Valerie, for that warm welcome. I would like to thank you all today for attending. As a conference producer, it is my job to really communicate the conference theme, our goals, and to educate you all on our company and who we are. Our 2-day conference, our virtual conference, will leave you empowered, inspired, and ready to share who and what Voice and Vision is and what we do. I really feel like this is my job and this is my passion. And I'm so excited for you all and all of our speakers that we have here today. And, you know, good luck and enjoy. Thank you all.
Now, without further ado, I'd like to have Ms. Trinity Banks, Coordinator of HEAL at Voice and Vision, and Charles Green of Voice and Vision, our Youth Advisory Board and Mental Health Advocate. Trinity Banks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I just want to quickly say thank you guys so much for coming out and or tuning in, I guess, online. My name is Trinity Banks, and I am the Youth HEAL Outreach and Education Coordinator. And what we do at our project HEAL is reaching out to Black and African American youth in the communities. We are very passionate about helping, the word HEAL is an acronym, and it is help, empathize, advocate, and listen. And those 4 things are something that we really focus on when reaching out and working with youth. Basically, we just want to break the stigma surrounding mental health, especially in the Black and African American communities. And my passion from working with this project came because I've personally struggled when I was in high school with mental health and mental illness. I remember in high school, I had no idea what, mental health was or mental illness was. I just knew that I didn't like the way that I felt. I thought something was wrong with me. And I personally was lucky enough to have a basketball coach of mine really see me and kind of, let me know that I was not alone and was able to guide me towards recovery. And she saved my life. So by doing this work, I want to be that person. So I want people and youth, adolescents, young adults to be able to have the vocabulary and the knowledge to even know that, oh, this is mental health, this is a mental illness, or, oh, this is what depression is. That way they don't get lost in translation. We want to be able to provide a safe space and be able to be completely transparent with them. So that's something also that's very unique to Voice and Vision. We have all either personally been through or struggled with mental illness or addictions or have family members. So it's really good because, when working with youth, we have to be very relatable. So that's just kind of what we do and why I'm so passionate about it. And if anyone wants to reach back out to me, my information's down there. My email address is trinityb@voiceandvisioninc.org. So I would like to introduce you guys to Charles Green. He's a member of our advisory board, and he has been such a staple in making this project come to life and really helping me see this through, along with the other people on the advisory board also. So thank you guys again so much for coming. And so welcome, Charles Green.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Trinity. You did a wonderful job. Just taking the handoff baton from you, and speaking about heal, you think about how one word, though spelled differently at times, can sound the same. And sometimes in life, that's kind of what we end up going through. We go through different situations that are more than just one area. And it being one area, you think about a heal being a noun, maybe a person, a place, a thing. But then you think about the action verb of it being something that you actually have to go through a process, a development, a sense of maybe sometimes struggle, getting over those things. It's truly an honor to be someone that can be an assistance and a support in those areas, even as studying professionally clinical counseling rehabilitation, once being a student athlete, once being someone that dealt with a lot of different generational strongholds, things that were before myself. You find out that there's many of things that you kind of have to overcome as you make it through your process of receiving divine peace and divine healing in those areas. So again, I'm truly honored to be here as someone, as an advocate, to be here to truly help, listen, and really help steer individuals in paths that are best for them, knowing that greater within that is in them than the one thing that is of the world. So we know we have the power, the dominion to be that chosen generation. So I stand as someone, even still in my youth, as an advocate for youth and young adults, to get over those, get up off that thing and move on. Attacking the heel while you go through your process of healing and making it to the top. Because we know we can deal with a lot of fog when we're in the valley trying to make it up that mountaintop. But if we have some brothers and some sisters that are there to help us through, we can truly make it onto the top past the fog. So again, thank you. And it's been an honor.
I don't know about you all, but that has been all the motivation that I need to want to tune in for tomorrow. This is going to be such an exciting conference. I want you all to feel empowered to ask questions. And while we may not be able to reach all of your questions at this time, if you utilize the Q&A section at the bottom of your screens, we'll select a few that we will answer live. So if you have any questions, we invite you to use that space at any time during our conference. This next speaker, I am extremely proud to introduce. She is very much so a class act. Dr. Leticia Webb is an entrepreneur, life coach, author, and Dr. Webb will be speaking on wellness on all 6 dimensions of the authentic self. Welcome, Dr. Leticia Webb.
Greetings, God bless you. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
We're happy to have you, Dr. Webb. What can you tell us about the wellness on all 6 dimensions of the authentic self?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first thing that I must do is define the authentic self. And I don't come from a social psychological perspective or a humanistic perspective. I do come from a spiritual perspective because that's just who I am. And so when I talk about authenticity, I'm talking about your ability to align all of your decisions, all of your relationships, and everything that you do to a higher purpose in life, which is ultimately a myriad of tasks where you are helping other people. We are not an island unto ourselves, and we can understand that our wellness and our wholeness comes from us utilizing our gifts and our talents to be a benefit to someone else. We also know, especially in the field of psychology or those of us who are in mental health or drug and alcohol, you benefit the most from your recovery through your intimate relationships where you can be authentic, transparent, and candid about who and where you are. And most people who are receiving services or who are, the service provider, one of the main questions that we ask all of our consumers is, who is in your support system? Okay. And so when we understand that we have to be well spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, sexually, physically, and socially, and how all of those dimensions of life intersect, it helps us to align who we are with our purpose. And when we can understand that is when we are fulfilling purpose, is when we can get out of ourselves or get up off of that thing, right? And actually extend ourselves to help another person. Then we can say that on all 6 dimensions, we are well, or we are becoming well. And of course, there's other factors that play into that. So I definitely don't want to just minimize, all I have to do is get up off the couch and go help somebody and I will be okay. No, that's why it's wellness on all 6 dimensions. What are you doing for yourself spiritually? Are you praying? Are you meditating? Do you fellowship with people who believe like you? And spirituality comes in all forms. That's why I did not say the word religion or religious beliefs or religious practices. I mean, spirituality can come in the form of taking a shower. I've actually heard someone say he had a spiritual epiphany while standing in the shower after being homeless for over a year. And this was the first time he was able to take a shower, and he connected with his humanity. He connected with the resources that was provided to him by this, I think it was like a drop-in center that allowed him to bathe. I mean, so when I talk about spirituality, please do not think I'm just talking about religion. We can connect to so many different things on a spiritual level that can bring some type of wholeness and wellness to us. So then we have to think about ourselves psychologically. What are we thinking and what do we believe? We know that as a man thinks, that's who he is. And we have to change our stinking thinking. For those of us who have been in the rooms or understand the rooms of NA and AA, you got to change your stinking thinking, because it's not what's going on with you externally, it's what's going on with you internally. And if you want to change your external world, then you have to change your inner world with your thoughts. And coming from a cognitive behavioral therapy perspective, we know that our thoughts evoke emotions that influence our behaviors. So many times, our thoughts and our feelings, the lines get like twisted, right? So what happens is you ask someone, well, what do you think about that? And they'll rebuttal, oh, I feel X, Y, and Z. Or someone may pose the questions, well, what do you feel about that? And people will say, oh, well, I think, because sometimes we can't decipher between our thoughts and our feelings because they're so intertwined. And so with that, understanding that, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do our thoughts influence our feelings, or do our feelings influence our thoughts? And so we have to be very careful and check what's going on with us emotionally, because we are either experiencing some type of emotion or trying to feel an emotion. And a lot of times we get on that thing because we are experiencing an emotion, whether it's loneliness, anger, bitterness, resentment, shame, guilt, whatever it is. And so it's very difficult for us to sit with an adverse negative emotion. We just want to numb that pain. And that's what caused us to get up on that thing. But in order to get up off that thing, we have to do some assessments of what's going on with us emotionally, do the deeper inner work. So then that leads to our sexual life. I mean, we talk about sex and people, become so nervous and like, oh my gosh, she, said that sex word. Well, how did all of us get here? If we did not engage in some type of sexual intercourse, none of us would be here. So sex is a part of life. And if we are unable to have those healthy conversations about our sexuality and who we are, then that's why we engage in sexual behaviors that causes unhealthiness and unhealthy relationships, because we're trying to fulfill some type of adverse emotions, or we think that we have to engage in sex to receive love or what have you. And then we have our physical bodies. What do we need to do to get up off that thing physically? I mean, or, some of us get up off the couch, get up off the Doritos, get up off of whatever, it is that we do, right? Well, that physical part of ourselves is so important. The eating healthy, the exercise, the sleeping, the balance, just movement. Sometimes people hear exercise and are like, oh my God. But, there's a whole therapeutic modality of movement therapy, just moving your arms, deep breathing, whatever it is to get your body to move, because we're all this ball of energy, wrapped up into your shell of your physical body. And sometimes in order to get up off that thing, you can move that thing, right? And move that energy to get into a different space and a different place within you and within your physical environment, which speaks to our physical environment is also a reflection of who we are and what's going on with us, and so, a part of, if we want to get up off that thing, sometimes we have to change environments, or we need to clean, or we need to rearrange. That's why the practice of feng shui is so important, or color therapy, within the environment. What colors you have in space that want to evoke love and energy, calm, peace. So when we talk about that physical dimension, it's two-dimensional. Within that one dimension, it's what's going on with you physically and what are you doing with your physical body, but also how is your physical environment affecting your wellness. And lastly, and I would like to say most importantly, because it really connects all of the other dimensions, is the social dimension. Like I stated in my opening, your relationships with other people are so imperative. Some people do not even need therapy. Bruce Perry, Dr. Bruce Perry, who wrote The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, he stated, and I'm paraphrasing his quote, that a lot of people don't necessarily need therapy to go into an office to see a professional. They're able to recover from their trauma and their life experiences when they have loving, trusting, supportive relationships. And so with that being stated, organizations like Voice and Vision that offer the advocacy that you need, that want to sit and actively listen to your voice, they are so imperative. If you cannot find, those personal, intimate relationships within your family, or you don't have close friends, or you come from a life of drug and alcohol and everybody gets high, everybody is scheming, everybody boost or whatever it is that they do. And you're just like, wow, I need to start somewhere in my social dimension. Voice and Vision is one of those type of organizations where you can go to have those healthy, supportive relationships. So when you're talking about getting up off that thing and the wellness on all 6 dimensions, you have to be alive, and you have to check yourself, on all of those dimensions, and do a daily assessment of where you are, so that you can unearth your gifts and your talents and share them with the world. Is because when you give out of yourself is when you find blessings, and you unearth and excavate so much more about your authentic being, that it just blows your mind, and it brings you a sense of self-satisfaction and what's the word I'm looking for? Transcendence. And I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, actualization. Thank you. It gives you this sense of actualization that you are one and that you can get up off of that thing. So thank you, Alicia, for that opening question.
Thank you, Dr. Webb. And, it's funny because one of my favorite quotes is speaking to looking to be more authentic and less of a perfectionist. And that being said, with the social media buzz about authenticity, what is your contextual definition of the authentic self? And before you answer, I invite our conference attendees to please utilize the Q&A section. We will try our best to take 1 or 2 questions to offer those to Dr. Webb as well. I also invite you to look at the bottoms of your screens, where you'll be able to find her contact information if you think that you'd like to reach out to her at a later time. But Dr. Webb, define authentic self for us.
Oh my goodness. So I shared a little bit about my definition of authenticity, but I would like to share Brene Brown. Most of us in the world of, human services or psychology or, any type of human service helping field, we are familiar with Brene Brown, who really helped us to shed shame and to accept shame as a human experience. And so most of us really love her and her contribution to humanity. And again, just paraphrasing her definition of authenticity is letting go of who we think we are to embrace who we really are. And making those daily decisions to honor who we really are and our true self. And so leading in with Brene Brown's definition of authenticity in the context of social media and the ability to get up off that thing, oh my God, we have at our disposal 24 hours, 7 days a week, too much stimuli from other people, other beliefs, other concepts, and these images and these quotes and these clips and snapshots and videos and all of this that we are exposed to on a daily basis have a true impact on our authentic self. And I'm going to be the first to say that, honey, if a picture looks a mess, I am not going to post it. Or if someone posts a picture of me and I'm like, take that down, I don't cute, and it's just like, where is the authenticity? We have the ability to what's the word? Like change the image on our pics. We can, make it dark or make it light, or we can, change our features and just all of these different things. We're not even being our true selves because it's this image of perfection. No one really shares on social media what they are going through. And if truth be told, if we have someone on social media that is honest, we'd be like, she done got up on this Facebook and told all her business. I cannot believe she did that. Like, she need a friend. She need to go somewhere because social media is not the place. Facebook and Instagram is not the place to be telling all your business. And so it's like, well, which is it? Is it a place for us to be who we are? Or, I'm so sorry.
I was going to say, that being said, you're speaking to how...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me well? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I said,
yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Speaking to those actions, as you were just beginning to do so, we have a question that we like to take from one of our attendees, and it speaks to how do we practice authentic self when we're part of a system that is in some way designed to dehumanize us as part of, as a group of people?
Okay, so that leads me to the concept of the carceral mindset. So when I talk about, the carceral mindset within the psychological dimension, I'm talking a sense of imprisonment. And true freedom comes within yourself. And so, when you're talking about a system that disallows you to be your authentic self, there are spaces and places for you to be who you are. And it starts within. It starts with a truth within yourself of who you are and who you choose to be. And then you have a personal environment, whether it's your home or your small group of friends. And so within a larger system, and this is because of time that I'm going to minimize this answer. Yes, there is a larger system. There is a macro enemy, so to speak, that we all contend with. And macro, has different levels as we go up society. And so you have to find within your micro systems how to be authentic within who you are. And some of it is just owning it. So again, when you're talking about systems, you gotta break it down. What do you mean by a larger system? Because that means something different for each person.
Okay. Now, in your current processes of being and becoming, what are the 6 dimensions of authentic self, and how do they relate to the populations of people we serve?
Yes. So like I stated before, the 6 dimensions are spiritual, psychological, emotional, sexual, physical, and social. And so with the populations of people, for instance, like voice and vision, where you serve those who have mental health diagnoses and those who are recovering from drug and alcohol. And I think I heard as well as the African American community, it's really understanding cultures and what goes on within different cultures, and whether you utilize the words cultural competency, cultural sensitivity, those that vernacular changes as time goes on. However, you have to understand the population of people that you serve from a cultural perspective, and what it is that they do culturally. So for instance, if you're working, what you would do or how you would respond to the IDD community, the intellectually disabled community, versus those who are in recovery from drugs and alcohol, that is somewhat different in your approach. So it's about taking the time to learn your community and the population of people that you serve by listening, which what Voice and Vision does, and really understanding. So once you understand it from a cultural perspective, which again is that macro system, then we can begin to help people on an individual level, because yes, I'm a part of an overall cultural and system, but what I need on a micro level is different from what someone else needs. And that takes a lot of time and commitment with active listening, which Voice and Vision does.
We have another question from one of our attendees. First, thanking us for this event, of which we appreciate the opportunity to bring it to you. Dr. Webb, do you have any suggestions on how one later in life, coming from emotional, toxic environments, can identify like-minded, positive, authentic Black women and build genuine relationships? Coming from a person who has had many interests and often engages in in new circles, it's not an issue of not being able to engage, but sometimes we all just need a little push, a little help. What are your recommendations?
Yes, I mean, oh my God, I think even myself as a Black woman, I experienced that as well, because we all want a true, authentic, deep connection with another human being. And so first we have to identify what it is that we need. And we have to also be realistic on our expectations of what we get from other people. And so someone who is older, who is well-versed, well-experienced, and many different interests, sometimes we're not going to get all of what we need from other people. And I think we have to be honest about that we are able to flow in and out of circles. And we have to identify, I can get this from this circle of people and understand that that's all that they can give me, and be okay with that and accept that. And I can get this from this circle of people, understanding that mix of people, and be okay and not put more expectations on them, et cetera, et cetera. And so if we are trying to get all of what we need from one particular person or one particular, circle of people, that's where we fall. And because, we see on TV, we got these sister circles, and we got, the old show Girlfriends, or, Living Single, we see these images on TV, and sometimes it's just not like that, and so we have to have a sense of self, knowing that when we go in and out of the social environment, that we're not going to get all we need, but we have to appreciate what we do get from the people in our circles and be okay with that, and work on ourselves for that sense of satisfaction. And if I did not answer your question, please give me a follow-up question.
Listen, I tell you, I think that you went above and beyond in answering that question. We actually have another. How can one be authentic without being judged or having others pull away from them because they're being their authentic self?
Okay.
And I'm sure you got a word
That's a loaded question. Okay. Self-acceptance. And this is where we get into the spiritual, psychological, and emotional dimensions. Why do you need to be accepted by other people? I get it. We all want to be liked. We all want to be loved. We all want friends. I understand that. But if you cannot be who you are with the people in your social environment, then we have to shift. Now, you have to ask yourself, to be completely honest, are you giving off vibes or energy that's off-putting? So we can't always look at other people and say, oh, they don't like me. It's What are we doing? Because you have to be friendly if you want friends, right? You have to give what you want to receive, and you have to treat others the way that you want to be treated. And so when I talk about authenticity, I'm not saying, oh, honey, this is who I am, and if you don't like it, then oh, well. No, that's not what we're talking about here. Authenticity is saying, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. These are the boundaries that I'm going to set. This is me. You may see pink, I see fuchsia, like whatever it is. That's what I mean about authenticity. But if we just open the door, bust into the room and be like, this is who I am and you need to accept it. No, because we live in a culture and a society. And so we all have to curtail aspects of ourselves to fit within the larger scheme of things. But there are some places where you can be completely who you are. So when you talk about how can I be authentic and, connect that with rejection, I would ask for you to have a deeper introspective experience of where this rejection is stemming from. Okay. Because when you can identify where the rejection is stemming from and go to that place in your past, and most time it's our childhood, and really face it and address it and forgive those people who did not understand you, forgive and let those people go who hurt you. And when you begin to do that inner work and shed off those layers of the past, like an onion, the Gestalt therapy of that onion and having that inner core in the middle of the onion, if you peel off these layers, you'll see that this whole I'm not being accepted is really from a place of being rejected at some point in our lives that needs to be uprooted out of our souls.
Well, amen to that. And that's actually a segue into our final question for you this evening. How can one facilitate healing on all 6 dimensions in a very practical way?
So practically, again, like I shared, it is, first of all, you have to start at one point because all of the dimensions are interconnected with one of them. And so, for instance, if you decide, okay, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week and I'm going to work on this, getting all this together, if you decide to do that, don't leave out the other components, because then it means that you're just working on physical dimension. Yes, it is important to exercise. However, with that exercise, are you getting enough sleep? Okay, all right, that's good. As I'm exercising, am I speaking positivity within myself? As I'm exercising, am I thinking about what I'm thinking about? And what is the self-talk that I'm having with myself? Or how am I viewing the other areas of my life? Right. So, okay. So that's my psychological dimension. And the starting point is exercise. Look at when I'm talking about practical, you have to start somewhere. So again, and I'm giving examples. If I made a decision, I am going to start exercising to work on my physical dimension. Okay, bam, I'm doing that. But let me also check on how I'm sleeping. Okay. If I can just, go to bed 1 hour earlier, just 1 hour. If I can turn the TV off or turn off social media an hour before I go to bed, the same day that I exercise, right? And okay, so then as I'm exercising, what am I thinking? Really being conscious, don't just listen to the music or listen to the motivational speeches, that we choose on YouTube while we're exercising, but really think about what you're thinking about yourself and your environment. While you're doing your cool down with your exercise, Are you meditating? If you pray, are you praying? Are you deep breathing? Like, what are you doing while you're doing your cool down within your exercise? Are you exercising by yourself, or are you exercising with a group of people, which will bring in that social dimension, right? And so again, the practical way to really look at all 6 dimensions with one starting point. If your starting point is, you know what, I'm going to clean my house, because that's my physical environment. And I recognize that when my house is a mess, I become anxious, I become angry, and I become unsettled within my spirit. So I'm going to clean. So while you're cleaning the house, what are you thinking? While you're cleaning the house, are you listening to inspiration that can help, give you some positivity within your soul? While you're cleaning the house, are you just cleaning, or are you like really moving so you can get some steps in and some exercise in, right? Because exercise is actually a form of movement. I mean, cleaning the house is actually a form of movement. So you can start somewhere in that starting point and be conscious of the other dimensions and incorporate that. And so to jumpstart it is to start with a journal. It doesn't matter what field you're in, what you are doing, journal writing always comes up when we talk about being healthy and well and whole. So it's taking your journal and literally putting down spiritual, psychological, emotional, sexual, physical, social. What am I going to do today to ensure my spiritual health? What am I going to do today to ensure my psychological health? That's one way. Or you can say, I'm dealing with overeating, and I'm just using this as an example. This is what I need to deal with. This is the thing that I need to get up off of: overeating. Okay, how is my overeating affecting me spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, sexually? Okay, because when we got down, we don't feel good because we feel like we don't look good. That impedes upon our ability to perform and what we bring to that space. Okay, let's be real. Let's be authentic over here. Okay, so how is that affecting me? Yes. How is it affecting me spiritually? How is it affecting me spiritually and socially? So if you got a thing that you need to up off of, then what you want to do is say, this is the thing, and how is it affecting me in these 6 areas of my life, and where do I want to be in all of these 6 areas of my life once I get up off that thing?
That's right. That was powerful. I'm going to throw in one bonus question for you, though. What do you consider to be a true sense of self? Can you answer that for me in 5 minutes or less?
Yes. A true sense of self is when you find your purpose. We were all created, my belief, we are all created beings. And there was an intent and a thought in you being here. You're not an accident. You're not a mistake. And when you can discover your purpose of your existence with your combination of gifts, talents, knowledge, skills, and abilities, that is the catalyst for the change in your life and helping you to be your authentic self. It's all in fulfilling your purpose of why you exist.
Whew. Well, Dr. Webb, I don't know about our conference attendees, but that was a lot of meat on the plate. I think I'm full, but I know I have to make room for round 2. We appreciate you presenting to us your authentic self We value you, and we certainly have gained value in the information that you've shared with us this evening. Can you please tell our attendees how they can reach you?
Of course. So I am on Instagram. I prefer Instagram over Facebook. I am on Facebook. I love Instagram. So you can find on Instagram at Dr. Leticia Webb. I also have my website, which is www.drleticiawebb.com, and also the co-founder and CEO of Opportunity, founded by my husband and myself. If you'd like to know what we do within the nonprofit world, then you can go to opportunity2advance.com. That is the word opportunity, T-O, advance.com, and you can find me there.
Awesome. Dr. Leticia Webb, we thank you once again for allowing us just a glimpse into your authentic self and helping to supply us with the tools of finding our authentic selves. Thank you for participating in our conference this evening. Attendees, we welcome you to reach out to Dr. Webb. The information has been provided for contacting her on the bottoms of your screens. Dr. Webb, any parting remarks?
I just want to say thank you to Envision. This has been a wonderful experience. I'm so glad for Reverend Nelson, one of my former students, Lancaster Bible College. I was his professor, one of his professors, and I'm just so grateful that he had me in mind and in his spirit when, the planning process of the conference, was in play. And I'm just grateful I'm grateful for Valerie and her vision and what she has done over years. I'm grateful for Ebony and all of her energy and experience that she is bringing to Voice and Vision and the community of Voice and Vision. I thank you for you, Alicia, for moderating and, helping me, stay on track.
You're doing a phenomenal job.
And I thank everyone. And yes, thank you.
Thanks again, Dr. Leticia Webb. Again, for our conference attendees, the information to contact Dr. Webb can be found at the bottoms of your screens. Please, if there were any opportunities for you to ask additional questions that were remiss, we ask that you reach out to her personally as well. Just a word of note, the conference is being recorded, so if there's anything that you would like to revisit at a later time, simply keep an eye out on our YouTube channel where more information on how to obtain a recording will be presented at a later time. Dr. Webb, Dr. Leticia Webb, thank you once again. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Namaste.
Now, I don't know about anyone else, but I tell you, this is often starting, has gone off like into the right direction and a rousing start. I am looking forward to what's next, I'm sure as you all are as well. Have a personal issue or challenge with some of the topics that are going to be addressed by our next speaker. We have Ms. Stephanie Humphrey, technology and lifestyle tech contributor at ABC News and author. Stephanie is going to speak on why can't I just log off? Stephanie Humphreys, we welcome you to join us. And can you please help me to just log off? How do I make that happen?
Listen, it's a tough for all of us. Thank you so much for having me. I am very happy to be here. I will caveat this whole thing by saying I am not a mental health professional, so this conversation might be a little bit different than what people may be used to hearing from this type of conference. But I guarantee you will learn something, and I hope you do take some value from it. Anybody that's watching, though, if you are watching, just because when I logged on, I know I had to do a little judging with my Zoom. Zoom. So if you're seeing me in that little box on the side, maybe you're seeing like 3 little boxes on the side of the screen, and you're seeing that sort of intro slide with my picture on it as your full screen. Go to the little 3 boxes where you're seeing myself and Alicia, and in the upper right corner, actually in the upper left corner first, you can choose the 1 square that'll get you to full screen, and then in the upper right corner, you can swap the shared screen with video. So you don't have to see that big slide of me, because I have some slides, as you can see right next to me, that I will be cycling through really quickly. They're just to sort of steer the conversation, but I want to make sure everybody can see them and not necessarily see me per se, but just see the information in a better, more visual format than just that little box. I hate that little box. Let me tell you, I hate that. That's one of the reasons I've switched and transitioned to putting slides on a monitor next to me. There's some other tools on the internet that you can use that do this type of thing as well, but I found this to be one of the more effective ways to convey the message, but still be able to sort of make that contact even virtually with my audience. So if you want to make those adjustments so you can get all the good tea, I'll let you do that. But yeah, why can't we log off? Why? It just feels like this phone is always in my hand. I can't get away from it. It literally, like you can see in the picture, tethered to your hand, it feels like, with rubber bands and glue and everything else. It's tough, but it was designed that way. So I would say the first thing you want to do around that question, around the issue of why you can't log off, is give yourself a little bit of grace. The internet was designed that way. And I always put this picture up. I use this picture in a lot of different presentations because it's a casino. And I still remember, I've been to Las Vegas a couple of times in my life, maybe 2 or 3 times. And I still remember the first time I went to Las Vegas. And the thing that I was struck by, beyond just, Vegas and all of the, trappings of that, was the fact that anything you wanted to do inside of those hotels had to go through the casino. And what I mean by that is, if I would ask someone, where's the restroom? Go through the casino, make a left, and then it's right there on the side there. Hey, how do I get to the conference room? Go through the casino, head up the stairs, and the escalators will be to your left, that whole thing. Anything you want to do, they're going to send you through that casino to get there. Even if you just want to go from here to here, they'll send you through the casino to get back to that point. And there's a reason for that. And there's a reason that everything in the casino is designed to keep you in the casino. You're getting free drinks. They're pumping pure oxygen in there. If you didn't know that, look that up. They're pumping pure oxygen in the casinos to keep you awake and alert. You'll win just enough on that slot machine to keep you playing. But the industrial psychology behind how casinos are designed is the same way that social media platforms are designed, and the same way that the internet itself sort of behaves, really. So, it's not all your fault. I promise you, it is not all your fault. There are some things that I don't know if anybody has seen. There's a really great documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma, and it really goes deep into how platforms gamify their systems to keep you engaged and keep you involved. I mean, literally, it gets down to them knowing everything about you. So that's the first thing. You're giving them so much information on this thing. They know everything about you. They know all of your you're waiting for somebody and you're just kind of mindlessly doing this, because that's what we do, right? We get on Instagram and we just mindlessly, you're seeing what's up with your friends, but then you see something that interests you. So you slow down a little bit and you stop scrolling and you actually read that caption and maybe you click that link or click like or make a comment or something like that. They've tracked that. They've tracked the amount of time that you spent on a particular post. They tracked whether you commented. They tracked whether you liked. They tracked the fact that you slowed down your scrolling to get to that post. They have all of those metrics and all of that data. So when it looks like you're back to just mindlessly scrolling and you may actually log off of that platform or just, go to a different app, which what we really would do, right? They serve you up more of the stuff that got you to slow your scroll, if that makes any sense. So you're scrolling. I don't like that. Oh, that's interesting. So now they're going to serve you up more of that to keep you on the platform. Everything they do is designed to keep you on that platform for as long as possible, because data is currency. They've measured it recently, and your data, your internet data, is more valuable right now in the world as it relates to advertising and what company and the type of revenue that companies can make because of your data is more valuable than oil right now. So they are going to do every single thing they can do to keep you on a platform for as long as possible, giving away as much information as possible, uploading photos, commenting, doing all that stuff, linking to other sites and your website and everything else. It seems nefarious, and it may be a little bit, but I think it's more just a function of exploiting human psychology, really. Because that's all they're doing. They're just exploiting human psychology and human behavior. But it's working for them because these are billion-dollar advertising agencies. That's what social media platforms are. They're data farms and they're advertising agencies. That is literally their primary function. So, going into it with an understanding of what they're doing and how they're trying to keep you engaged should give you a little bit more ammunition, if you will, and more of a reason really to log off sometime, because that's the point. That should give you a little bit more incentive not to give them so much of your data and to take a little break every now and again. But again, the internet operates in some really interesting ways that keep us engaged on all of these platforms and on the internet in general. And the first one is persistence. I have a workshop and a seminar that I do for students, parents, and professionals called Till Death Do You Tweet. And it's called that because nothing you ever do online truly, truly goes away. Even when you delete something, it lives on a server in a corner in a basement somewhere at a company. There's always some way to recover information. So when your digital footprint persists, it sort of can cause you to continue to feed into that system. It's just never going to go away. Somebody can always find something about you. So now that sort of picks up. Think about memories on Facebook. Facebook serves you up those pictures from 5 years ago, from this is what I was doing from 10 years ago, So what they do is they make it very easy for you to reshare those memories and add another little comment, another data point. But they're bringing up these things to keep you engaged. So the fact that thing was still there in the first place 5 or 10 years later speaks to the persistence of the internet and how it can, sort of coerce you and entice you, if you will, to continue to engage with the platforms at all. Second is the visibility. The potential for anybody to see what you're doing is very high, and we live in a society, I think, right now that is very what's the word I'm looking for? Exhibitionist, really. We share everything. We share our breakfast. We share, those pictures from brunch, that sandwich, that like literally every single detail of our lives is being shared because of the potential visibility that we have. We want other people to see us. We want other people to see what we're doing. We don't want to miss out. That FOMO, if somebody is over here turning up, we want to let everybody know that we can turn up too. So, that FOMO and that competition sort of kicks in, but the visibility of the internet and the fact that, anybody can see what you're doing is another enticement for you to continue to be on the internet and on these platforms. The next one is spreadability. That goes hand in hand with visibility. Things go viral all the time. And literally, I think it was yesterday. It might have been either yesterday or the day before. I was on TikTok because, it's TikTok. And I do social media for a living. So I have a professional responsibility to understand what these platforms are all about. But TikTok is actually awesome as well with content wise. But I was on TikTok and somebody was recording a little boy on a trampoline in his backyard. And he gave his little spit. He said, "This is my first TikTok and I'm going to do a backflip and I hope you all like it and comment because I want to go viral on TikTok." That literally was his sole motivation for doing a backflip on his trampoline in his backyard, was to go viral on TikTok. And that is literally a lot of people's motivation for why they get on social media platforms at all. They studied this as well. And more young people right now want to be YouTube influencers than want to be astronauts or doctors. And I'm not sure what that says about where we're going to see ourselves as a country in 20 years with no doctors and no astronauts and no engineers. But it is what it is. And so the idea that you could go viral for anything, literally anything. There was a woman that went viral for putting on a Chewbacca mask and laughing in it. And she ended up on Ellen and she, the whole world knew who this woman was. So, there are a lot of people out there for whom the idea of going viral is very, very attractive. And that's exactly what they want to do. They want to blow up on Instagram or they want to blow up on Twitter. So the spreadability of the internet goes hand in hand with the visibility of the internet in that, the idea that a bunch of people can see you is a really attractive reason for people to remain engaged on these platforms. The fourth thing is searchability. You can find anything online, anything. I don't think I've cracked open a book as a reference material I can't remember. I mean, I read books all the time. I read novels and biographies and, romances and all this, but to crack, besides the Bible, I crack open my Bible all the time, but to crack open another book as a reference material. Like, when's the last time you did that? People don't own encyclopedias anymore. People don't own physical dictionaries anymore. People don't own their phone books don't exist anymore. Every single piece of information you may ever need is on the internet right now already. And some stuff you don't need and some stuff you didn't know you need or didn't think you needed until you saw it online. And now it's like, oh, I didn't know I wanted to know how to build a bomb, but here it is, so it has become, the internet has basically become a monopoly on information. Because there's really nowhere else for you to go to get the information. Even if you have a book, even if you're a student learning calculus or something like that, you will still go to the internet to get some verification, to get some validation, to get some additional information. So the internet has a true monopoly on information right now. So that is reason enough to keep us coming back for more and more and more and more, because every time you want to know something, you got to go to the internet. Even if you don't really think about it like that, you're asking, Alexa, Alexa, what's the weather going to be? Like, the internet got us by the cajon. So the searchability of the internet is one of those things too that keep us tethered to the internet, because we're at a point now where you have this little computer in your pocket. So why not? Let me just Google it real quick. Let me go. Google is a verb now, and that is one of the things that will keep us, truly tethered to these devices, because the monopoly on the information that the internet has for us right now. It's actually kind of scary when you think about it. The last thing is perceived anonymity. You know, you do a whole lot of reckless stuff when you don't think anybody's watching, or when you don't think anybody will be able to find out that it's you. And the internet it doesn't really. So just FYI, somebody will always know it's you. And there's always a way to find out that it was you. You might have to take some extreme measures, but there is really no such thing as anonymity online. That's why it's perceived anonymity. People believe that they can hide behind these screens and say whatever they want and do whatever they want and become whoever they want, with a fake profile or avatar that just has the little picture of the silhouette in there and not actually a person. So that is a powerful draw and a powerful enticement as well, when you get to, completely lose yourself and become someone else entirely. Maybe in real life, you're mild mannered and timid and not, very boisterous, and you don't, voice your opinions much, and you're kind of shy. But on the internet, you can go all out. You can be a troll. You can call people out. You can comment on different websites and call people crazy. And I can't believe you did this and blah, 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 thinking that nobody will ever know it was you. So it is a very, very, enticing thing to believe that you have some level of anonymity, because now you get to be whoever you want to be. So these 5 things, these 5 behaviors really of the internet really do sort of dictate our behavior online. But they also keep us coming back. They keep us coming back for those different things, to get more of them. The dopamine in our brain. Like I said, I'm not a mental health professional, but I know dopamine, and I know when you get that like, and when you see those comments, it makes you want to do it more. So it really is a very similar thing to a drug. It operates the same way drugs operate. They hit those dopamine centers in your brain and they make you feel good. And comments make you feel good. And when you put those vague, cryptic little messages out there without context and say, you know what, just pray for me, y'all. I'm going through some stuff right now. I don't want to talk about it, but just pray for me. And you get all the comments of, girl, we got you. Girl, God got you. Don't worry about it. And we need that. And the internet is good for that. And there's a part of that is useful to our mental and emotional health. But there's also a part of that that is a little bit gratuitous, and there's a part of that you can start to get dependent on. When your self-esteem starts getting wrapped up in that thing, and that go ahead, girl, I see you, girl, go on, girl, you doing it, girl. Your self-esteem starts to get wrapped up in that, and now you have to keep coming back to the internet over and over and over. Now you have to keep coming back to these platforms for validation over and over and over and over again. So that's something to be really mindful of as you're navigating that online space. So what are some of the signs? Lots of similar psychological signs to any addiction, anxiety, depression, having it interfere with your daily activities, with your jobs. I mean, I can remember reading stories about people that in South Korea, they have gaming cafes in South Korea where you just can go and sit and play video games all day. And people's babies dying because they spent, 3 or 4 days straight in one of these gaming cafes and didn't feed their kid for that long. So, it is definitely, it can go to that extreme. And internet addiction can go to that extreme if you're not careful. So you're gonna feel that guilt. You're gonna feel that that desire to want to put the phone down, but can't put the phone down. So those are things that you shouldn't ignore when they start to really have a negative effect on your daily life and how you move through the day. Some physical effects, though, of potential internet addiction: carpal tunnel. You're on your computer all day, you're doing this all day. That starts to affect those wrists, neck and back pain because you're like this. They call it tech neck now. This little hump here that people are getting in the back of their neck because they spend all their time like this. Headaches, of course, eye strain. I get eye strain all the time. I'm at the point now where I'm probably going to need like either some glasses or something, because I'm literally staring at a screen most of the day. And then weight gain or loss is a thing too, because if you're just sitting around, on a computer all day, you may gain some weight, or you may forget to eat at all and you may lose some weight. So pay attention to these things. None of these things by themselves mean that you're addicted to the internet, but, taken together, if you're seeing, more than one of these signs in yourself or in someone else, and they're persistent, and again, they start to interfere with daily life, you may want to take that a little bit more seriously. So what can you do? You want to pay attention to this thing, like how much screen time am I actually using right now? You get those notifications. You can set them on your phone. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just pay attention to what you're doing. Be mindful about that. Set downtime. So on iPhones, it's a setting called screen time. So if you go into your settings, just search screen time. On Android phones, it is called, I forget because I don't have Android, digital well-being. So search for either of those two things on your phone. I actually have mine set for between midnight and 5 a.m. So at midnight, all of my apps will be grayed out, my browser's grayed out. There's some stuff that I keep, like text messaging and the ability to look at my calendar and different things like that. But all the rest of that stuff is grayed out. Now, mind you, you can still use them. Like if you really, really have to look something up at 12:30 a.m., you can use it for 5 minutes and then go back into downtime, or you can use it indefinitely. But I have found that just that little reminder for me is enough to say, you know what? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't need to look at this right now. Whatever it is, I don't need to look at it right now. I mean, sometimes I do need to just look something up real quick for something that I'm working on. I do tend to pull all-nighters and work in the night. I'm a night owl. So I do sometimes need to look stuff up, but most of the time it's just me being bored or just muscle memory, reaching for that phone just to start scrolling again. So that cue, when I pick that phone up after 12 o'clock, after 12 midnight, and I see that everything's grayed out, and I try to engage with an app and it says, your screen time is up. Do you want to? I'm like, you know what? I don't need it. It gives me that second to think about whether or not I actually need to use my device right then. Most of the time I don't. And I try to be as honest with myself as possible. I'm like, you don't need to look this up right now. It can wait until the morning, and I put the phone down. Grayscale your screen. So they've done some studies around this as well. If you get rid of the color on your screen, and you can change this in your display settings, you can change it to grayscale. It tends to make people engage less with their phones because it's just less engaging. People like bright colors. People like, all of the stuff kind of going on your phone. Matter of fact, let me just real quick. I just want to show you, because my phone is really, really pretty. I just changed my background. So it's like, there's a lot going on there. You got widgets and icons and all kind of stuff. And, you see this, and you got all these different things that you can tap on, and they all just look like they're ready to go. And there's some good information there that you're going to miss out on if you don't engage with them. Just imagine if this whole page was black and white. They would really all look the same, number one. And it definitely wouldn't motivate me to want to open up any of those apps. So graying out your screen can definitely help you use it less. Use apps or browser extensions that do that thing. There are plenty of them out there. Space is one of them. Moment is another one. Freedom is another app. And Break Free is another app that will literally keep you from using particular sites for a certain amount of time. There are browser extensions that can do that as well, especially if you're writing and different things like that. You want to just concentrate on what you're doing and not be tempted to surf the web. So take advantage of the technology to kind of combat, the technology in a sense, and use what you need to use. If you have to actually, get some help to keep yourself from these things, there's no shame in that at all. So take advantage of that. Don't sleep with your devices. I know. I use my phone as my alarm clock too. But that really kind of gets to convenience. When it's within arm's reach, you tend to reach for it. I mean, it is what it is. And then that tends to be the first thing you do in the morning because it's right there. You got to pick it up to turn the alarm off anyway. So now as soon as you got it in your hand, you're scrolling. So you want to be very mindful. And that next thing, very intentional about the times and places you use it. You know, the first thing I do when I pick my phone up in the morning, when I turn my alarm off, is I read, you know, I do use my Bible app. So I read the Bible app, and that has to happen every morning. You know, I don't get to emails for an hour or more after I wake up. So figure out what those deal breakers, if you will, are for you as it relates to your digital usage. Like, I am not going to use, check emails until this time. I am not going to use my phone after this time. I am going to put my phone on the kitchen counter, instead of on my nightstand at nighttime. So, come up with those things that work for you and your family, and be very, very intentional and mindful about that, and enable your screen time, because you would be surprised. I'm consistently surprised when I get that little notification every Sunday about how much I've used my phone that week. And I do try to do better, because it'll tell you it's up 20% from last week, or it's down 10%, or whatever it is. And when I find that my screen time has gone up, I do try to be a little bit more intentional about using my phone less. So that's one of the things you can do as well. You really have to be very intentional about how you want to use that device. But if all else fails, seek help. I think, like I said, I can't speak to the medical and mental health community, but, I do believe that internet addiction is something that is being recognized more and more by mental health professionals. So if it comes to that, do not be ashamed or afraid to seek professional help if necessary. However, all that being said, we're trying to use our phones less. We really are. We really, really, really are. However, you do still have a digital footprint to think about. You do still have those things that you do online that make up who you are, that make up your personal brand, and it includes everything. So that's the first thing about your digital footprint that you want to understand, is that it includes all of your electronically connected activities. So it's social media, but it's also email. It's also Google searches. It's also text messages and group chats. And, if you're a gamer, if you do any kind of gaming, if you play any online games, like it's all of that stuff, because all of it becomes searchable. Remember, the internet is searchable. Searchability is one of the key sort of behavioral factors of the internet, but it also is recoverable. So not only can you go look for it online, you can find it somewhere and bring it back. The persistence of the internet means that you can bring it back as well. So you want to be mindful that that digital footprint exists. And since it does exist, you want to be managing it in a way that makes sense for you, but also that is not going to do you harm, because we see that all the time with the stuff that folks are posting and saying and commenting online. Folks are losing jobs and doing all kinds of different crazy things. So you want to be mindful about that. And that comes in the content. So this is where I kind of would like to open it up to questions. Because when you're thinking about the things you do on the internet, you want to make it work for you. If you're going to be online anyway, you want to make the things you do online productive. You want to make the content you post work for you. So I would love to open it up for any other questions about anything I've talked about, but also about open it up to any sort of content strategy questions around what you could be posting based on a business you might be running, based on a personal brand you're trying to build right now, based on, maybe you've made some mistakes in the past and how do I fix that? So any kind of questions around content strategy or anything else I've talked about up till now.
So at this time, we encourage our conference attendees to please post your questions in the question and answer section. We'll try to get as many of those questions presented to Stephanie as we possibly can. Stephanie, we do have one from an attendee at this time. I have a hard time managing my teen grandchildren who live with me. Any suggestions? And I'm sure that's a popular question that you get quite frequently.
It is. I get it all the time. I'm going to make a shameless plug right now, if that's okay. Can I make a shameless plug?
Absolutely, you can.
So I wrote a book, and this is primarily for students, but I think adults can get a little bit of use from it as well. But it's called Don't Let Your Digital Footprint Kick You in the Butt. And what it is a lesson in what not to do on the internet to build your personal brand online. And what I do in this book is start that conversation, because that's the thing. You got to give kids ownership. You know, you can't just say, why are you always on that phone? Because they're going to hear wah, 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 wah. And they're going to think that you just don't understand why the internet is so cool, or why TikTok is so cool, and that you're just being a parent, you know, and don't get it. So, you know, you got to give them some ownership around their internet usage and their digital footprint, because they're creating a digital footprint the same as adults are, as soon as they start touching that phone and that keyboard. So to have a conversation with, I mean, you know, you could get the book, but to have a conversation with them about their personal brand, that has been the game changer. I've spoken to literally thousands of students at this point. I've been doing this since 2012. And when I realized that conversation around a personal brand is what they resonated with, it really changed the entire way that I present to young people, because again, it gave them some ownership without criticizing what they do. Because that's just what they do. You know, there's a part of this that you're just going to have to let go, because we live in a digital society, and the idea that they're going to just put the phone down is just not a realistic sort of attitude and mindset to take. And that may not be the mindset you want them to take, because there's a lot of money to be made on the internet. And if they're making TikTok videos that are going to get them a brand partnership with Coca-Cola, you know, that needs to happen. So it's a matter of helping them understand that idea of personal brand. It really is. It's not too early to have that conversation with them, because, you know, they all want to be influencers anyway, but help them to understand that they have this brand. They have a digital footprint that they've been establishing by their usage of these devices that they need to monitor, and that there are negative consequences and positive consequences to that use that they will ultimately have to be responsible for. And all of that is in the book.
Now, Stephanie, on that note, how do you avoid having people, youth included, you know, take that dreaded trip down the rabbit hole, you know, where you start, you know, finding more validity out of what it is that you are searching for or encountering or receiving even from social media versus human contact? Can you speak a little bit about that?
It's tough. It's really tough. And for young people, I think, you know, I don't think it's a bad idea. I mean, you know, you're not going to not get them to be on their devices, but you can actually limit screen time. You know, I think that is very important for young people, that they not be on their phones 24 hours a day. You do have to allow that is something they do. And that's actually their community for a lot of kids. You know, they may not have a ton of friends in real life, and now we in COVID culture. So, you know, they might not be able to make a ton of friends in real life and be out engaging, you know, face to face with people. So when you're just saying, get off your phone, sometimes you're taking their community away from them. So you don't want to do that necessarily, but there does need to be limits on it. I mean, and that's going to be, you know, sort of subjective. It'll be different for each household. You know, I don't think anybody needs to spend 8 hours a day on a phone. That's just me. But again, if your kid is a content creator and they're actually working, quote unquote, maybe that's maybe that makes sense for them. So that's going to be a subjective thing that has to be determined per household. But there do need to be some sort of screen time limits ultimately for young people, especially.
What do you consider to be, on average, a healthy amount of time to be on any type of electronic device, be it your phone, the computer, gaming? Secondary to that question, in a culture now where, like you said, we're currently in coronavirus culture or COVID culture, but even prior to that, technology has taken such a prevalent position in education and how it's delivered to our students. Again, what do you think is a healthy amount of time? And do you have any specific tips on things that we can do for our children proactively, at least, and ourselves to separate?
So that's the one thing is the separation, because screen time for distance learning is different from screen time from gaming. So, you can't look at, well, you've been on the computer all day anyway. They were at school. You can't punish them because they had to sit at the computer all day. And now because they're done, they want to unwind and play a video game. And you're like, well, no, because you've been on the computer all day. Those are two different things. So you have to look at the quality of their engagement as well. And, if they spent 4 hours at school, maybe you give them that half an hour to play a game or watch some YouTube videos or whatever. So make that distinction, number one. I know I've seen some statistics that say, between 2 and 3 hours a day is the average right now across multiple demographics. It's a little bit, it might be 2.2 hours for Gen Z, but it might, or millennials, and it might be 2.75 hours for Gen Zers, but roughly, and I don't know necessarily that is acceptable just because it's the norm, but that's where we are right now as far as sort of average screen time across the board, roughly 2 to 3 hours per person per day. What you can do, again, you can if you need to, for young people, especially if you need to enable some sort of app or technology, use technology to do it. Bark is one specific app that I would recommend for a parent, BARK, Bark Like a Dog, that really does go, it's very robust in what it can do and monitor your child's digital usage on their phone. So if you had to, put something on their phone just to make sure they weren't using it in that way. I also like an app called Unglue because it actually uses the idea of budgeting screen time and earning screen time. They get more time for completing chores and, doing things like that. So it kind of, again, puts the emphasis back on them to make it a collaborative effort. And that's the most important thing, is it has to be a collaborative effort. I know a lot of us was raised my way or the highway, but you can't just be authoritarian with the way that you want your child to manage their devices and their screen time, because it's not going to work. What I mean? Like at the end of the day, they going to get that phone back, or they going to get somebody else's phone, or they going to go, they're going to be exposed to this information one way or the other. So the only thing you really can do, like I said, you can use those technical tools if it comes to it. But I think the better thing you can do is to have that conversation and continue to have that conversation over and over and over again, so that they know they can come to you when they see something online that they don't understand. So they don't, I also recommend to parents, especially, have a digital contract in your house. The National PTA actually has a very good template for, sort of lining and have your kids sit down with you and work out like how much screen time we getting in the house, when do the phones need to go away, and when they go away, we're putting them in a lockbox, in the kitchen or whatever, like however that looks for your family, however that works for your family, put it in writing, get the buy-in from everybody. Everybody has to sign it. You know what I mean? It's legally binding happening in my household, put it on the refrigerator so you can always see it, so that you know that this is and then refer to it often and revise it often, because as the kids get older, the rules are going to need to change. That conversation is going to need to change, but this is an ongoing thing. This is not, I think, parents sometimes think this is just that one-time thing. When you hand them the phone, you say, don't be out there acting crazy on the internet, and then you forget about it. Like, this has to be an ongoing conversation that happens throughout their lives.
Now, I know you keep giving the caveat that you're not a clinician. However, I'm sure in your vast experience, you've been able to identify healthy behaviors when it comes to utilizing our online tools and technology, as well as those not so healthy behaviors. You mentioned earlier about people looking for those likes and, having that euphoric feeling that's attached to it, and the dopamine kind of receptors being sent off. I'm a clinician, so I'm into all of that. But can you talk a little bit about the counter effects of being so closely knitted to technology in today's society?
So like good and bad, you mean?
Yeah. Just to kind of let everybody kind of see that, it's not always about a like, but, if you could just speak on that a little bit, that'd be great.
Definitely. So, I mean, the internet has created some wonderful things. Wonderful things have come out of using social media platforms. I think about Tumblr in particular, because I don't even think Tumblr exists anymore. But the way Tumblr was able to create community was amazing. I mean, I don't have any stats for this, but I know that there are hundreds of kids out there that didn't commit suicide because they found their tribe on Tumblr. You know what I mean? So, that's why I say you can't just shut it down altogether and say, you can't be on this phone, you can't do this thing, because they are creating these communities online that are helping them through some really heavy stuff, But on the flip side of that, the access to the information that's on the internet can lead folks down a very dark path as well, because you think about what's happening in our country right now and how all these young people are being even more racially radicalized and driving to Wisconsin and shooting people at protests and different things like that. But even beyond that, there are groups out there that young girls are getting involved in, that are pro Anna. If you're not familiar with that term, is pro anorexia. So they're finding these groups that are helping them eat less food, and then then there's the real underbelly of the internet where people are grooming kids to be lured into sex trafficking in real life. So there's all kinds of different things that are happening all at the same time. And it's overwhelming for adults. So, we all have to do our best to help our young people navigate this space. And it's hard when you don't navigate it much yourself. I know the one question was from a grandparent, so you may not be spending a whole lot of time on the internet anyway. But again, it comes back to the conversation, because the internet is going to be the internet. There's always going to be some raggedy stuff on the internet. There's always going to be some good stuff on the internet. It's always going to be another new social platform. It's always going to be another new latest dance craze and all the rest of that. That's really immaterial at the end of the day, because it's always going to be there. That's always going to be there. The thing you have to be most mindful of is just, again, preparing your child for what they may see. And then letting them know that they can come to you with that kind of stuff, and then keeping them, doing whatever you can to provide alternatives, because it doesn't have to be all internet all the time. You know what I mean? That's the parent's job, is to provide those alternatives as well, and be like, what, it might be corny, but tonight is game night, and we're going to turn our phones off, and we're going to put them away, and we're going to play Monopoly instead of, being on YouTube. So all of those things have to work hand in hand to make sure that they have the most healthy experience they can.
That was awesome. We do have another question from an attendee. First, it starts, thank you, Stephanie, for your presentation. And in connecting your presentation with the prior one from Dr. Webb, are there healthy ways to use social media to contribute to and not take away from your mental health? Mm-hmm. An example would be with the desire to find and build authentic, positive friendships is it possible on social media, in your opinion? And you spoke briefly about Tumblr. I know I'm dating myself probably in saying this, but I remember, I go all the way back to our first musical search engine being like Napster, and when LinkedIn had its first iteration, and we were still in www in order to get somewhere. But if you can just maybe give us some insight as to what some of those entities are that are available in social media and in electronically or through technology that would help to bridge that gap with finding authenticity and finding relationship.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think social platforms do a great job of that. It's all about how you regard them and what your intention is when you're going on them. I think you can create a Facebook group today that is for survivors of domestic abuse, and those people will be able to find their tribe. They'll be able to find resources. You can share, information and different things like that. So it's really, again, I have to go back to the intentionality of it because, and I'll use myself as an example. I put content out regularly called the 60-second tech break. And it's just a quick little blah, 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 blah. And you could be like, oh, wow, let me download that app or let me go do that. And that's what I mean when I talk about content and using content as a tool to engage and to help and to create community. And, it becomes that sort of self-fulfilling thing when you put that out there and someone says, oh my God, I just downloaded that and I just saved $5. Thank you so much. That's my dopamine hit. And I'm not doing it for that, but it's that feedback loop that, you're helping others and you're being helped by what you're putting out there. So, when you talk about like, how do you get that authenticity? It's all about what you're putting out there. Honestly, you'll get the energy you put out there, really. So if you're telling your story and you're standing in your truth, you will find your community. You might lose a couple friends. Like, oh my God, here she go talking about her weight loss journey again. You know what I mean? You might lose a couple folks because folks are haters, and that's okay. But you'll also gain a community of people that need to hear that. I think, not necessarily, I don't know that all experiences need to be shared, but I don't know many that wouldn't benefit from being shared and from having somebody be able to support you in that journey and having some, or you being lifted by knowing you helped someone else in their journey.
Well, without giving away all of your trade secrets, are there any suggestions that you have for professional tools that are available online that, or things also that one should be mindful of when presenting themselves professionally as it relates to separating that definition of themselves from their social person and their professional, identity?
I'm a slice that right down the middle because it's so funny because I can remember, I don't remember what year it was. It might've been whenever the Pennsylvania Women's Conference it happens every year in this area.
Yes.
But when it was in Philadelphia, there was a year it was in Philadelphia, like maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
5 years ago.
Right. So I was at a round table then, and my topic was literally, how do I separate my personal and professional on social media? I can tell you 5 years later, there is no such thing. Forget the idea that you're going to be able to separate personal and professional online. It just doesn't happen anymore. And that speaks to that authenticity, because now you have to decide what kind of person you want to be at all. You know what I mean? And not just, and now granted, you can do some things as far as privacy settings and different things like that. So like, say you want to reserve your Facebook just for family and friends, just as a place to share, updates, you lock those privacy settings down. You only accept friend requests from family and real friends, and you manage it that way. However, at the end of the day, there is not going to be that separation, because at the end of the day, even with that Facebook account that's only supposed to be for family and friends, that information can still get out. That information is still a part of your digital footprint. You know, one of your jealous cousins could screenshot something and share a picture somewhere else or whatever. And now you're fired because of that. You know what I mean? So it really is I say it all the time. I'm like, there's no separation. It's only balance. It's only balance, and what you choose to, like, I'll give an example. I have sort of I keep a mental sort of percentage of how much personal and professional I share on each platform. So LinkedIn would be the platform that I would recommend for professional anything. It's so underused. I mean, it's getting better now. People are really starting to swarm to it like crazy. But
I remember when it first came out.
Me too. And nobody was on it. It was like,
no one was on it. We were on MySpace. We were using, all other types of,
Listen, I get like 75% of my business from LinkedIn now. So it is a really, really powerful platform that I still don't think enough people are taking advantage of. But for me, for LinkedIn, it's like 99-1. So 99% of the stuff I do on there is going to be professional. I might post, some random something that is just me specific or something like that, but it's very, very rare. Twitter's different. Twitter is where I vent. Twitter is where I do, reality show recaps. Twitter is where I, talk about hip hop. Twitter is where I do all of but I also still promote myself there as well. But I'd say it was probably, 50-50. Instagram is a little different. Because I produce so much video content, Instagram is a great platform for that. So it's still more promotion, but I'd say it was probably 60-40, maybe 65-35 professional and personal. So you'll have to sort of figure out what makes sense for you. And it's going to be a function of what your business is as well. I mean, everybody should be on LinkedIn, just period. But what other platform makes sense for your business? It's if you're doing something that's visual, Instagram is probably going to be that better platform. If you're doing something, that you're a writer or something like that, maybe Twitter, and you can do sort of those threads, those story threads or something like that. So you'll have to make that determination yourself. But you want to approach all of it from the mindset of a personal brand and with the understanding that there's not going to be any separation. You're just balancing.
Gotcha. And you were talking about some of the applications of old. Are there any other things that you and your expertise have seen that are coming on the horizon that we may want to get a sneak peek about right now?
Well, Clubhouse is blowing up right now. I don't know if anybody on the call is familiar with Clubhouse. It's like a
it's not a Disney Clubhouse, is it?
No. I don't know. I find it a bit tedious. I'm not gonna lie. But it's only available for iPhone right now, and it's only available by invite only.
Can I just stop you right there? Because this is about the second time that I've heard a little bit of shade about us Android users.
It's not shade. Let me explain to you why things don't come out for Android first.
Please do.
It's because there are multiple devices, and it's because there's no uniformity in the operating system across those platforms. So a Samsung Android phone is just a little bit different than an LG Android phone, which is just a little bit different than the Google Pixel phone, which is just a little bit different. And if a developer creates an app, they got to create it for all of those different hardware types and different form factors. With iPhone, you only got to do it once. and it's stable and it's secure and boom, boom, boom. So it's when they release it for iPhone first, it's because, I think and no shade, but I think they definitely want to attract a certain type of user. And there's a certain profile that iPhone users fit that they want to test their product out on first. But then also they don't want to have to do the extra work of programming to multiple platforms because my Samsung Galaxy's OS is different than the LG, whatever's OS. So I have to tweak it just a little bit. So it's not necessarily, hate. It's just, it's more convenience and
You're just trying to get me to drink the apple juice. And
I'm just
trying to stay away from the apple juice.
I'm just saying.
So I take it you're someone who carries devices on both platforms.
I have an Android phone. I don't use it much. I mean, I don't like Android phones. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I just don't. I like the intuitiveness. I'm not one of the people that needs to do a whole lot of extra stuff to my phone. Android users always talk about the customization and the fact that I can add and do. I don't need to do all that. I just need my phone to work and work well and be fast and take good pictures. That's it.
Touche. Well, at least neither of us have BlackBerry thumb. So we have another question from one of our attendees. Is your book available on Amazon? And if not, could you tell us how we can obtain a copy of it?
It is available on Amazon. Yes, please. Just search Stephanie Humphrey and it'll be the first thing you see.
Awesome. And if you, on that same note, if you would just share how our attendees can get in contact with you if they were to have more questions or just want to maybe follow you and see those tidbits that you give in your 90-second tech talk.
Sure. I am all around the web at Tech Life Steph. You can see right here. Nice. The website is tilldeathdoyoutweet.com.
Nice. Well, Stephanie Humphreys, we thank you so much for visiting us this evening, for sharing such valuable information. We truly appreciate your graciousness in doing so. We like those insider tidbits as well. And in such a tech-driven age, it's good to know that we have a friend on the inside who can help to steer us in the right direction and help us navigate those rough waters. Thank you so much for joining the conference this evening. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful. I enjoyed the conversation immensely, and definitely, if you have Netflix, check out The Social Dilemma. It really will give you some really good insight into how they get inside our heads and sort of grab us. So again, just if I could leave you with anything, if you find yourself a little bit overwhelmed and using your device a little bit more than you expect to, and sort of leaning on it, for certain things, give yourself a little bit of grace because it is truly by design, and you have to be very intentional about breaking out of that need for validation and clicks and likes and everything else. It's like we really have to do the work on ourselves to counter that, because they are very, very busy and very intentional about keeping our eyeballs on these screens.
Absolutely. I actually saw The Social Dilemma, and I was quite pleased with how it was put together and how it put a lot of practicality to what we often are experiencing in our addiction or our connection to technology. Thank you again. We appreciate you. And thank you for coming. Thank you for spending the time with us this evening.
Thanks again for having me. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Well, my goodness, if everyone is as full as I am, I don't know if you have room on your plate for one more thing, but we have more to come. I'm so excited that we are getting such activity on our question and answer board. Please, I encourage you to continue to submit your questions. We will try our best to get to every single one. Next up, I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Harper, Esquire. He is the Director of Advocacy at Voice and Vision Incorporated. And he's going to converse with us a little bit on why our resources matter. Michael Harper, Esquire. Barrister,
hey, good evening, everyone.
Hey. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well.
What a lineup. I mean, I just want to wrap up by saying thank you, Trinity Banks, for telling us your story and for reaching out to youth. Thank you, Dr. Webb, for talking about being authentic and transparent. And thank you, Ms. Humphrey, for delving into technology issues and how we can balance things. And those things, our personal stories, being authentic, and information that can be helpful is really all about what Voice and Vision is about. So before I get into the programs and the ways we support people, I wanted to talk a little bit more about our approach. And again, Valerie started out way in the beginning by saying we're a family organization. And that means that all of us here have a lived experience. We live with mental health or addiction or learning disabilities, or we have very close family members who we've helped and supported through those types of challenges. And, the truth is life is beautiful. Life is wonderful. But for all of us, life has challenges. And particularly for people with certain types of challenges, it's helpful to speak to others who have been through that and have learned some information. I appreciate that Ms. Humphrey kept saying, I'm not a clinician, but she gave so much helpful information. And we could buy her book and where to go and strategies, keeping that personal inventory every day so we have a life balance, like a coach or a mentor. And that's really our approach with how we support people. Voice and Vision, we're coming up on our 25th anniversary. We're not there yet, but we're almost there. And over that time, we've been honored to help thousands and thousands of families. And over that time, we've amassed knowledge. We've amassed information about strategies and resources. And we just want to let everyone know that we are here to be a resource for you and your family and your community. So a little bit more about our approaches before I get into some of the specific programs. One is, it's really important to know that we have a growth mindset, that we're not fixed. We believe the human spirit, the human condition, we're always going through things. We're always changing. Every day is different. Every day is an opportunity. Good days, bad days, sunny days, rainy days. Mr. Green said it early on that he get help going up the mountain. Well, we have highs and lows. But overall, life is beautiful, but there's seasons that are tough. And it's good in those tough seasons to realize you can still grow, that the road's not ended in any sense of the word. And it's really those hard times, a lot of times when you go through them with the support of others, that you are changed. There's a transformation, and that really brings in a lot of the spiritual aspects of our life's journey. And we have seen over and over again the power of prayer, the power of faith for those that do believe. And we just recognize and honor and respect individuals that have that as a significant component of their recovery, of their battle, of their perseverance. And any clinician will tell you that, by the way. The basic components of recovery and wellness and health and wellness, there's a spiritual component. And we're all here as human beings that of the human condition, we can just testify that that's true. And we just respect that in people and we honor that. So if I could turn now to a couple of the programs that we do. And they're all built around, I guess I would say for another about our approach is we don't fix your problem. So in a way, it takes a lot of pressure off of us. We can't fix things for you, but we can support you and walk alongside you as you go through it. And as you make these discoveries about your priorities, your goals, where you want to go, how you want to get there. Now, we'll give you information and resources and strategies and others that can help, because you can't do it alone. At least we don't. Well, maybe you can. and that's wonderful if you can. And actually, people do. I shouldn't laugh at that, because people do. And that's a testimony to the human spirit, resiliency. But the truth is, largely, we need the support of others. But we can't fix it. We can't fix it. So our approach, a lot of it has to do with something we came up with as an organization. It's called a person-centered approach. That's not new. We didn't invent that. That's widespread. It's evidence-based. But ours is based on the hand. And basically, we say every human has strengths. And based on those strengths, it's a good base, a good foundation to decide where you want to go. And that's the pointer finger, the position. Where do you want to go? What's your direction? What are your goals? Where do you go? What do you want? The next finger is challenges. What are some challenges or obstacles that might be in someone's life? Let's talk about those. The ring finger is your relationships, and relationships are so important. They bring so much opportunity for that growth mindset. And then the little finger is just the what are the next little steps you can take to where you want to go. So it's not rocket science, but when you really listen to someone who's going through a hard time with one of these challenges in mental health or substance abuse or learning disabilities, a family member who's trying to help a loved one and they come into roadblocks or challenges, wisdom and support goes a long way. And that's really what we're all about. So let me talk about one of the programs first. I guess there's about 4 or 5. And actually, before I get this, I guess it's not a program, but we do have, all of this is on our website. Everything I'm telling you, the way to access everything I'm telling you is on our website. So voiceandvisioninc.org, on the homepage, you'll see the programs that I'm mentioning. So you can click on those, go into it, get contact information, and find out a lot more details than what I'm giving you tonight. But one of the things you can click on is our guide, our Help and Hope guide. So this is the second in a series, and this one is really focused on addiction. So, we had the pandemic, and we also have the opiate epidemic, which we've been battling for a long time. And, addiction is obviously a major issue in all societies, but especially ours. I'm not going to kill you with stats, but 90% of addicts can be diagnosed during the teen years. 90%. So what does that tell you about youth and teens and their mental health? And they're turning to drugs to feel good instead of feeling the other feelings, instead of being authentic. They're self-medicating. So 10% of families, have alcohol or substance abuse issues going on right now. It's probably higher. So it's infecting every family on some level. So this book is free. You can download it. It's on our website. You can also purchase hard copies if you want and give them out. It's really readable. It's from the family perspective. A lot of stories. These are true stories. So they're testimonies. They're accounts of people that have walked this walk. And, I know many parents who have had trouble sleeping at night, worried about a loved one, struggling with mental health or addiction. The book's on addiction, but mental health is right in there. I mean, almost every addict is dealing with depression, anxiety, or other mental health episodes, trauma, and they're covering up things. So it's always typically a co-occurring issue. But just to learn about resources and what you can do, family support groups, it really is a one place to go for all the information you'd need. So I would definitely make a note of that. And it's free. It's on our website. Download it, pass it along to friends. And that's a very important guide. And it's the second in a series. The first dealt with, it was more focused on Bucks County. The second one is just knowledge for the whole region. There's also a beginning book in the guides that deals with all kinds of issues, mental health, special education, and everything. So our guidebooks. Our second program I want to talk about is Compeer and Compeer Core. So these both programs give the same type of support. Compeer is for civilians. Compeer Core is for veterans. And these programs match up a volunteer with someone who's in recovery from mental health. And, I guess the best way to describe what this type of support does is it's like having a friend / family member who's gonna call this person, go on walks with them, take them out for coffee, and give them support and friendship and fellowship as they try to figure things out. One of the first things that they do is that, someone who wants a mentor or a match, we call it a volunteer, is they'll sit down, they'll meet, and then the coordinator of the program, Olga, who's wonderful, you can contact her through the website, through Compeer. Her contact information is there. But she'll sit down after a match is made and just talk through again, what are the strengths that you're going through? What are some goals? What are some challenges? What are some relationships? And what are some next steps? And, kind of a typical case could be someone who has just lost a lot of who they are because of a serious bout of mental illness. It could be depression, anxiety, bipolar, someone who's been hospitalized, someone who, there's all levels of this. It doesn't, we're all different. We're all unique. So I don't mean to lump these stories as if they're all the same, but they're not. They're very different, but everyone's road is different. But the road to recovery is also different, but we all need the support, But, imagine someone who's been hospitalized, who comes out of the hospital. It's very hard sometimes to get medications right. Many people with mental illness find medication helpful. And it's hard to get that right. In the process, you may lose your job. The person may become homeless, may lose custody of their children, and they feel, and they factually are very alone. So what are some steps to helping that person, get back on track? And, being matched with a volunteer through Compeer or Compeer Core, that's someone who's going to walk beside that person. Can't fix it for them, but is going to walk beside them and support them as they try to build up the recovery supports and get back stronger in their recovery. So, getting the medications right takes time. Finding the right doctor that you like or the right therapist takes time. And once you build up that level of stability, getting your kids back or getting your own apartment or looking for a job, all of those things, it takes time. So, all the coordinator of the program actually did a video recently. It's on YouTube. I've asked her to somehow blast it out, but it's just a couple of people telling their story. And I had the privilege of watching it. And the recurring theme of the person with mental illness who was getting support said, it was just so great to have so much in common with someone. So I don't know how Olga is doing this match, but it's working. So it's a real relationship, and it's lasting. And again, there's volunteers right now. She said, Mike, I have more volunteers right now than people who need help. And I said, after tonight, I guarantee you that's going to change, because I know there's a lot of people that could benefit from this program. And again, it's free. Olga does a lot of fundraising, staying up late night, writing grants and trying to raise money for this program, and she's done a great job. So if you or someone in your community could benefit from Compeer, please go to our website, make a note of it, and get the help. Same with Compeer Core. Veterans are a fraternity or a sorority or both. And when people leave the service, they lose a lot of the natural supports and the lifestyle that they've had, a lot of that culture. Dr. Webb talked about cultural competence. What's the overall umbrella that a person is living in? And for veterans in the military, that's a definite culture. So to be able to be matched up with another veteran, match up two vets to walk that walk together, is wonderful. So again, just a great program. Pardon me, I got a list here. The next program I wanted to talk about is College Plus. So this is Karen and Katie work for College Plus. And this is a program, right now it's only at Bucks County Community College. We would love to be able to expand it, but it takes that hand model and it helps people that have mental health and want to go to Bucks County Community College. And it's peer support. It's somebody, again, with the lived experience, meeting with them, helping them with their education goals, working closely with the college, of course, really right in there, with the existing college supports. I mean, I'm convinced that College Plus needs to be a national model. I mean, I'm flat out convinced. I know colleges are looking closely nationwide at how to support college students with the mental health issues. 90%, again, there's another 90% of teens view their mental health of them or their friend as a very serious problem. I haven't read studies, but I've read reports that it's linked to technology. All the information that kids are getting now and exposed to, there's a correlation there as to when the spike in anxiety, depression, and mental health came along with technology. And there's also been, thank goodness, great advances in healthcare. So kids that used to wash out and not make it through high school are now making it to college, largely due to medications. Once they're in a college and they're outside of their support network and all the changes and stress of college, your college counseling centers are not meant to deal with longstanding serious problems. And sometimes people in colleges need more support than what the college can give. And colleges right now give out or contract out and try to beef up their resources in other ways. But it's a higher education system that is grappling, admittedly, with ways to really support students where they are so they can be successful. And I have to say that the College Plus program does it for people that that are ready to take that next step, and that's a scary thing for a lot of people, right? They've had maybe past experiences where they've washed out, and now that it's hard for them. It takes courage. And I think that's probably the best word for College Plus would be courage. And I think Katie sees that in people and the people that she works with, and they see it in themselves. And that, there's that transformation, right? That change. They went through something hard, but they can go back up that mountain with the support of others. So I love College Plus. I love it. The next program I want to talk about is a program near and dear to my heart. It's something I personally work closely with. It's the Family Advocacy Center. So this is all about the kids. So when mental health or addiction or special education or truancy or bullying or kids that are in the foster care system or kids that are homeless, when they don't get the supports from these family serving systems, the message they get is either nobody can help me or I'm not important. That's what they internalize. And that, to me, that's not acceptable. So the Family Advocacy Center is twofold. The mission's twofold. One is we want to give the hands-on support to families who have children who are struggling in any of these areas. If a kid is in juvenile justice, if a kid is starting to be disciplined at school, is starting to get expelled, why? What is that related to? We don't want any kids getting expelled. We want to drill down and see what's going on and how can we help this kid stay in school. Special education. It's a real challenge for parents to navigate the IEPs and these things and get the right support. Schools are really good at creating big buckets to help children, but if your kid doesn't fit that bucket, the corporate bottom line kind of comes up and says, well, this is all we can do. Sorry. Well, no, the law is very strong to help kids. Thank goodness. The law is very strong to help kids in all these areas. The problem is these systems are either overwhelmed or sometimes not always managed the right way. And we're not pointing fingers. We're just saying we can do better. And sometimes advocacy is needed to do better. Now, I'm an attorney, but we do not legally represent people. When we help families, the schools and these systems usually don't even know we're involved. What we're doing is getting important legal information. We're listening, strategies, options. Our mission is to, just like all the other programs, we don't fix your problem, we walk alongside you. That's what the Family Advocacy Center does. We wish we had enough resources to give you a lawyer every time, but we just don't. That's not how we operate. Our mission is to help you advocate for yourself. You are the expert of your child. If I give you some good information, just like Ms. Humphrey did around technology, you're going to be good to go. We're in year 5 now at the center, and we help about 50 families a year. And I've only had to go to one IEP meeting. And that was because the mother actually had intellectual disabilities and she wanted me to go. And I felt comfortable with that just because of the situation. But we coach them up and they go. And we don't go anywhere. We're still here. So it's not rocket science. We explain things. We'll sit down with the family with the IEP or whatever it is, and we'll give information. We'll connect the parent to other support groups and resources so they learn and become an expert in their child's struggles and disability and learning differences. And it's a great effort. Now, I mentioned these topics like mental health, children with mental health, addiction. Almost always under addiction and drug abuse is some type of mental health. Special education, truancy, bullying, foster care, homelessness. We didn't pick these by accident. These are all stops, or it's all things along the school to prison pipeline. So think of the school to prison pipeline. So you have a cute kid in school, he's second or third grade, and then at 14 or 15, they're in the juvenile justice system, and at 18, they're in adult criminal justice system. And how did they get there? Well, there's a road or pipeline with on-ramps that all these systems have. The school system, behavioral health, healthcare systems, juvenile justice system, all systems designed to help a child, but we know there's this patterns of these systems not being able to provide the supports that are needed. And we recognize there's a lot of reasons for that, right? The family obviously is a huge dynamic. Well, sometimes the pattern that these systems fall into is blaming the family. And that's not a good way to create change, to create that transformation, to be authentic, right? So think of it as a relationship where everybody has to be authentic. And yeah, maybe the family's got to step up and make some changes. If they can't, we got to get other adults in this family's life, in this community. It's really about community is really what it's about. And how strong is a community? And how can we strengthen community? It's really strengthening each other along the way, right? So that's really the point of the Family Advocacy Center is we want to help these families get the support, help the families make the changes they need to make or reach out into the relationships that they need to reach out to. But also they need an honest, effective partner on the other side. And really what we're seeing, again, we're in year 5, is everybody really, really wants to help the kid, right? But there's been a breakdown. And so how do you restore that team, that collaboration? And all it takes is really some communication, and sometimes some legal knowledge helps, some strategies, some options, and get the ball moving in the right direction. And I would say the vast majority of cases, 95% of the time, through a collaborative thing. Again, the school doesn't even know we're involved. A lot of times it's bad for the school to think a lawyer's involved because then they lawyer up and get defensive. So we're not about that. We're not about that. We're hands off. We coach the families up and we help them figure it out because they're the expert. They're the expert. Now, another part of Voice and Vision, in addition to advocacy. So I've talked a lot about advocacy. And advocacy is, information, strategies, options, resources, support. There's another aspect to the work that we do, and that is, it's a very important piece. It's, for a long time, we've been collecting data. You saw that little video in the beginning. We collect data from people that are getting services and their families, and we learn a lot. And this information is shared with counties and governments, and that we're charged by them to collect this information. So we're collecting survey data. We're hands-on in these systems with families, and then we see patterns, and we see ways that these systems can do a better job. And that brings in the last thing that I want to talk about, which is systems advocacy. So, just like you can advocate for an individual kid, you can advocate for a system to change the way they approach that type of situation so a lot more kids can be helped. And a simple example would be a bullying case. One of the first cases I did with the Advocacy Center was a bully kid. And the kid actually had a trifecta. He had special needs. he was bullied. Someone came up behind him because he had special needs. A lot of times those kids are victims of bullying. You know, kids are kids, I get it. But someone came up behind him and just took him by the ankles and pulled his legs out from under him. And of course, he fell forward and hit his head and had a traumatic brain injury. So now he's got special ed, traumatic brain injury, and he's being bullied. And mom had been working with the school and things weren't working. And so she came to us. And, you know, we gave her some strategies. We helped her start documenting what was going on. You know, we helped her write a letter, and she knew her rights. And she knew who to send the letter to. She knew to make notes at these meetings that she goes to. And she knew what to say if the school wasn't going to change its tune. And you never had to get to that next point because the school saw the letter and it went to the right people, and she had a meeting. And again, everybody wants to help the kid. And they kind of saw what was going on. And they said, not to me because they don't even know I'm around, they said, we need to change how we handle bullying in this school. That's systems advocacy, right? It's helping these systems do what they want to do anyway, you know. And it's hard sometimes to connect the dots. You know, you're in a busy day. You're just getting through your day, and it's tough. And you don't have time always to make things better and make things change. So systems advocacy, and I see Leticia is back on. I just want to say a few more things if I can. So some of the priorities that we've seen around systems advocacy is, this conference is a lot of it's about minority access to healthcare. That's a priority for us at Voice and Vision. It's not acceptable to us that people of color do not have the same access as whites. We also feel very strongly about just in general family engagement. And that's kind of the umbrella that minority access is under, is the whole family needs to be engaged when people are dealing with these issues. And we're working on how to train these systems to do better in family engagement. We're presenting next month to some pediatricians, and we have some other work that we're pursuing. And another one that we really feel strongly about is people with mental illness who are in jail. That opens up, that's a long discussion. We're not going to talk about it right now. It's been going on for a long time. And we need to see more improvement in these areas. So one of the things I just want to give a final pitch is if anyone is interested in joining these efforts around systems advocacy, we would love to hear from you. So my email is up right now, michaelh@voiceandvisioninc.org. You can also, my phone number is on the website, but please reach out to me if you are a person who has connected some dots or who wants to know more about how to go about making these systems work better. Because sometimes it's not rocket science, right? We could do better if we want to. And a lot of times we're just choosing not to. Because we're too busy, we're distracted by, right? Has anyone been distracted by an election recently? Very important election, but I'm just saying there was a lot of energy into that. And sometimes I wish as a society we could put more energy. I guess it's like the internet. There's a lot of good on the internet. There's a lot of stuff that's junk on the internet. But as a society, I'd like us to shift more towards how can we talk about some of the good things? Because these systems are good and filled with good people. But how can we do better? We can do better. So with that, I'll turn it over to Leticia.
Michael, thank you so much. And, you actually started touching on something that's very near and dear to my heart as well, systems advocacy. And just as a sidebar, distractions as well as lack of knowledge can undermine the best efforts. On that note, I would also like to say, we're still praying for the family of Walter Wallace, which would be a prime example of how systems advocacy could have reversed the situation. We have a couple of questions that we like to take. One attendee has written, what about kids being raised by grandparents and neither parent is in the picture? Can you speak a little about that?
Yeah, so that's how we define family. So our definition of family is the caring adults that are in this child's life. So So yeah, that's family. So I don't know if there's more about that they would need to know, but grandparents, there's legal things they can do to to have custody and physical and legal custody, which can be helpful depending on the age of the child. So those are things that may or may not need to be pursued. Maybe your just role as a caregiver and someone who provides primary support, and the parents still have a role. So again, I'm not a clinician either. I'm a lawyer, but I have seen so many wonderful families with whoever is in the picture, that makes that child feel or know the truth, which is they're a person of value and people care about. So that's a family.
Thank you for that. Another question we have here is, you said that advocacy at Voice and Vision is a process. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the process actually works? So basically, when a family contacts Voice and Vision, what happens next?
That's a good question. So that's hands-on. So you can call, and we try to have there's no wrong door policy. Like, I'm the primary person that would handle more, maybe more complex cases with children. If it's a vet case or an adult who wants mental health support, that would be, we'll go to Olga. So you call, but we really want to be an organization, and this is part of our New Year's resolution, which there's no wrong number. And you call anyone, and we're trained to listen, number one, to really listen. And, Valerie started out with that as our CEO and founder, really, of Voice and Vision. And that's just really from her. This is her marching orders to us, is we always need to listen. And, as family members who haven't always been listened to, we know what that feels like, right? So we are motivated to listen. So we're going to understand what the person is saying, understand what they need. We're going to try to understand what their priorities are. Sometimes that's a process. Sometimes they don't know right away. Like the woman who called with the bullied kid, she was dealing with bullying, having to see a doctor's because of the TBI, and the kid's IEP, the school wasn't doing right, so helped her think through those priorities. And then you're going to get to the right program. If there's and all of us are going to really help you navigate the system. We're not about saying, oh, call this number, right? So we're not a directory. You don't call us and then we say, oh, you definitely want to call these folks. No, we listen up front. We try to understand everything that's going on. We, we'll look up on the internet. We'll research the resources for you. We really don't give out a number unless we've called it and we know it's the right number. It sounds like an obvious thing, but as a family, I had a son who was sick, and I was calling the insurance company, and I live right outside Philadelphia, and I was told I had to go to New York City to see a doctor. I said, no, I thought there was a mistake. I said, no, I live right outside Philadelphia. No, you got to go to New York City. And I'm like, no, that can't be right. That can't be right. And then they said, okay, you can go to Pittsburgh. And then they were going to send me to Washington, D.C. Right? So this is my insurance company that I'm calling. So, a lot of times what we do is we give the practical side of things, which sometimes parents, when they're dealing with this stuff, they think they are an anomaly, like an exception. Like, oh, this must be, I just had a bad day in this system. No, some of these systems are just not there, so it takes perseverance, it takes strength, it takes, you got to fight through it. So we're going to listen. We're going to steer you to some good resources. We're going to say, call us back if you get stuck. We're going to coach you up if that's what needs to happen, for sure. And sometimes that takes a few hours of our time. That's what we do. You can come in and meet with us and bring all your documents, and we'll sit down and go through it. Obviously, with COVID, we're doing things remotely now, so we can still do that. We're going to help you build relationships. So sort of our mantra is relationships, reflection, and resilience. So we're going to talk to you about, what are your relationships, and what relationships maybe do you want to get stronger in, and help you think about that. And sometimes we'll give you homework. We'll say, next time you call me back next week and give me some relationship ideas that you've come up with. we're going to encourage you that you can be resilient. Resilience is just that perseverance. We say hope is confidence in a good plan. You're going to come up with your plan. We're going to help you, but you're going to feel good about your plan. A lot of times that's how we end the conversation. We'll say, do you feel good about this plan? Is there something you don't feel good about? And if there's something you don't feel good about, we'll talk through that. And we're not going to, and maybe we've done enough for this session, and call us back, So it's really hands-on, and and we give hope. We encourage, because we've seen a lot, and I like to say this to parents. I say, this is going to turn. And sometimes their jaw will drop. I'm like, what do you mean? I say, it's going to take some time, but this is going to turn. It's going to get better. There's going to be a sunnier day. You just don't. I've seen it. I can't guarantee it, but I've seen it happen so many times. It almost always happens. And it's truth. Sometimes when crisis happens, or something hard or challenge or painful, our emotions kick in. We're angry. We're this, we're that. So we'll listen to all that. We're not going to tell you you're wrong for being angry. We're not going to say that. We're not going to tell you to calm down. We're going to let you be angry, but we're going to speak truth. The reality is, you can get through this. There are relationships. There are strategies. There is information. It may take some time. And maybe, obviously, they're not only ready to absorb so much at a certain day, but that's when we'll call us back when you want to talk again. So that's the approach.
Thank you for that, Michael. One more question for you. Have you noticed that there's been an influx in the utilization of the services provided by Voice and Vision since we've undergone this pandemic state?
Great question. I would say there's been upticks in certain areas and downticks in others, because we're in these systems, and a lot of the systems are now remote or not operating. So, for example, we were really excited about a truancy project. We were going to be in truancy court with families who are going through truancy proceedings, and help the family advocate for themselves and help the teenager. Truancy was when someone's not going to school, and very, very often it's related to mental health or abuse. And when COVID hit, that got shut down. And we were just about to present. We were on the calendar to present to all the truancy officers in Delaware County. I was excited about that project and that initiative. On the flip side, with kids learning remotely, we've gotten a big uptick in kids with autism or ADHD who are home and having to learn remotely, 100%. And we don't feel that's really proper. We feel strongly the school needs to be doing something on site and hands-on in a safe way for these children. So I would say, some things up. We've also seen an uptick in mental health in general. With the isolation and the change and the stress, people's anxiety, people's depression, use of substance uses is going up. So we have gotten more calls. And by the way, we're not a crisis line. I should mention, on our website, there are lots of resources for all levels of people that need help. And if someone calls us and they're in a crisis, or we know they need the clinical help, that's a resource we'll give pretty quickly. But we have seen, people calling just with their loved ones who are struggling more, who are more depressed. We've had some more runaways. I think that's been an uptick, kids that have run away, and parents not knowing what to do. So uptick in some and down in others.
Last question, if you can answer it in about 3 minutes or less. What can the layperson do to be of support and to be an advocate?
Well, I'd say I'm a layperson. So you can do a lot. If you want to volunteer with us, you can contact Compeer, the Family Advocacy Center. We're not taking volunteers right now. We have college and graduate student interns. Something down the road, we may do some volunteer aspects there. There is another project we're looking to start, which is Facebook, like a private Facebook group, and match it up by region. So we could use some volunteers for that. If you want to host a private Facebook group, it's something we would want to talk to you about how it's handled, and we would want to be a part of it, especially if our name's on it, obviously. But, to be an advocate, I would say, there's so many ways you can get involved. If you have a certain area that you have experience in, or you're willing to learn more about, you can obviously read up about that. Nothing beats the lived experience for sure. But there's a lot of resources, a lot of things to learn. Like I'll give you an example, just something, like I said, I'm a lay person. I am, I really am. So that bullying case I told you about, I wasn't satisfied with the resources that were available. So interns and myself, we just read a lot and researched, and we wrote our own bullying toolkit for parents, and it's on our website. It's free. So pick an area that you care about. I think it helps to be passionate, that you have knowledge about or gain the knowledge. And then you can look for organizations where you can help out. And there are lots of organizations where you can volunteer and be an advocate. COSA is one, and there's others.
Thank you, Michael. This has been so informative. We really appreciate all that you do at Voice and Vision. We also appreciate Voice and Vision for all of its services that it provides to those who need it most. Thank you so much this evening for sharing just a small bit of your time and to giving us a glimpse into a day in the life.
I like the way you said that. Thank you so much. And thank you all for listening. I know it's been a lot of Zoom going on, and there's more tomorrow. But again, hope you can join us tomorrow. It's so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Well, let me tell you, we have touched on everything. I want to first thank Trinity and Charles for sharing their experiences and for the work that they do with the youth. I want to also thank Dr. Webb for showing us a glimpse into a very transparent way of sharing and becoming our authentic selves, using the 6 dimensions of achieving that. Thank Stephanie Humphreys for allowing us the space to have grace and utilizing and navigating our relationships with technology, good, bad, and indifferent. Michael Harper, Esquire, thank you so much for sharing with us those resources that are offered by Voice and Vision. I want to thank all the attendees this evening for just, being present, for opening your minds and your hearts to receive the information that you received today. We hope that it was of benefit and use to you. If you've presented a question, we thank you greatly. If you presented a question and we weren't unable to answer your question or address your question at this time, we just ask that you would please go to our website, www.voiceandvisioninc.org, to get more information. There, you'll also find information about the Hope and Help Guide, and also the second book in the series, Substance Use, The Growing Need to Know, provides the reader with foundational understanding for substance use and addiction. And that link can be found in the chat window as well as on the website. Tomorrow evening is day 2 of our conference material. We would think that we hope that you would rather present this information and opportunity to your local communities, family, and friends, that you invite them to join us. They can use the same conference link. The conference will begin promptly at 10 a.m. and end at 2 p.m. And we look forward to seeing you there. We hope that you have gotten a little bit of an insight into how to get up off of that thing. And we encourage you to join us tomorrow night. And last but not least, I would be remiss if I did not thank our founder, Valerie Melroy, for presenting us with this wonderful opportunity to bring this content to you this evening. Thank you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful evening.